G29 steering wheel and pedals, Logitech. I am going to tear mine apart today because the brake pedal is sticky. It stays slightly on. Most of the times you can just change the potentiometer from one to the other. And I don't use the clutch pedal much, so if I had to, I could use it for parts for one of the other two. So I got spare parts right there. But today, I have a spare. So I'm going to install it. All I need is a Phillips well-lit place. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And a few basic tools. First, we're going to pull all these little screws right out of the front. That'll take the pedals off. It will not remove the spacers on the back, which they're different between the gas pedal and the other two. Yeah, hopefully you can see. The spacers are all a little bit different. These two are about the same, but the wiring on them is different. So you have to pay attention when you pull the wires off to swap things around. Now comes the other part. As you can see, there are several silver screws all the way around this thing. And 2 of them are hidden. So we got to pull all of them screws. The black screws are what holds that piece in. So it's not necessary to pull the black screws at this time. But those will be coming later when you decide that you want to swap units one for the other. I've got me a nice little tool for doing that. It reaches in there just fine. As you can see, I've pulled most of the screws out. For editing. And that should be the last one. Now, turn it back over. We should be able to lift the lid off. There's a couple of screws that holds the wires into the case. You can pop them out if you want, or you can work around it. It's your choice. Each one of these potentiometers has its own little color code. Pay attention to the wires and how they're attached. One's a ground wire attached to the little screw. And then you got 3 wires here that are just clipped on to the sensor. And each one has its own set of colored wires and a ground, the little screw. Inside here is the spring. If you pull this bolt out or the other end, this will separate, and the spring can be changed out for different types of springs for different feels within the pedal. The gas is pretty soft spring. The brake is a much harder spring. Some people like them to be as real as possible, and the clutch has a mediocre spring. That's where you change those out, is inside of those cases there. They come apart really easy simply by pulling this bolt out, and it'll separate. But I'm only interested in this one, my brake pedal. This one I don't use, and on previous time when this one failed me, I did swap this one out for that one. This was the only part I had to really change. I made note of the wiring. I pulled the 2 screws off on the back, took the spacer off, took that spacer off, and swapped them, one for the other. I made a note of these wires and how they went on. I actually just took a picture with my phone so I could remember. And then I pulled the 4 black screws out of the bottom, and I switched that one for that one. Just switched them back and forth. And I put it all back together in the configuration that you currently see. Hooked the wires back up according to my diagrams, my pictures. And I had a good set of pedals for a while, but now this one, it acts like it's sticking, and I don't know why. I'm pretty sure it has to do with this. I have animals in the house, so you probably noticed there's pet hair, dander throughout the whole unit. And I'm pretty sure it's contaminating my electronics as well. Okay, I've detached the old one. Replaced the wires as they were. Had the red double wire on top, white in the middle, and black on the bottom. The other ones might have different colors. Just make a note of which one goes where. Replace them as you saw them previously. Now you can start reassembling. Got little pins that it sets on, so you really can't mess it up. Lines up with the holes. Put all my screws back in and start reassembly, reverse of how I took it apart. Put the screws back in it. Reattaches it. All the springs feel right. Wires hooked up. Screws are tight. I do wish I had a set of springs. I'd love to be able to change my brake. Most of the time I'm using full pedal, and I should only really be using half at the most for full brake. The game has ABS settings, and without them, I don't know if I'd be able to control this car correctly with this spring that's in here. I wish they had one a little more real. But I guess that's aftermarket. That's how they get that dollar separated from your wallet. They do that just to get you to pay a little bit more. Now we start throwing the cover back on. That should take care of everything inside there. Sure our wires are back in the proper slots and grooves up in the front. Start reassembling all of the screws in the back. And last one. Oh, great. I didn't have this much trouble with the other ones. Kind of a pain in the butt for my fancy dancy antique desk racing setup. Kind of a pain in the butt to separate the wire. As I take the wheel off and unplug it from the back and all that happy horse poop. So I just left it hooked up and unplugged all of the power supplies so that it's completely non-functional at the time. It's just sitting there, you know, as if it was on my workbench. This is why I'm on the floor doing this instead of a nice workbench, because I'm too lazy to do all the extra work required when it just took me about 10-15 minutes to tear this apart and replace that pedal. Now you notice the brake and the clutch are the same, but the gas is different. So that's what I'll do, is I'll just start reassembling these. And hopefully I should have absolutely no problem till the next one goes out. Then hopefully I still got 2 spares, so I do have an extra set of pedals. Thanks for watching.